Hello, everyone. Welcome back once again. I am Nicodemus Kane. Today is March the 7th of 2023. I had a day yesterday. It was not a good day at work. I did not choose the overtime for this week. Mostly because I had to work overtime yesterday. It was a hard day. It was not easy. And I'm waking up this morning and I'm feeling it, and I'm feeling a little down. Definitely asking the Father today to lift me up, lift my spirits, be able to get me through today so that I can do the things that I need to do. Just be able to take care of things, whatever I can. It's the best way I can describe it. But yeah, I'm not under the weather. It's just I'm just not feeling right. It's like I said, it was a long day. I've never had a day at work as busy as yesterday. And it was a lot. And because I screwed something up, excuse me, because I screwed something up, because I had to fix it, I was on a computer for 13 hours. The whole 13 hours. That was not fun. But it's neither here nor there for me to come on YouTube and bitch and moan about my life. Let's jump right into it. I'm not going to go over current events. I'm not going to talk about this world, this fallen, ridiculous world that just gets more and more sinister and evil and dark every day, because not only are people waking up and seeing it, but good people of the world refuse to open their mouths about it. And the more that you don't speak up, the more it keeps right on going. So with that being said, that's my angry rant for today. We were reading Lamentations, the Lamentations of Jeremiah. We are on Lamentations 2. How many are... I don't even know how many... it's not a lot. What did I say it was? Like 4 or 5 chapters. Is it 4 chapters? It's 5 chapters. That's a week's worth of that's a week's worth of chapters right there. And that's fine. That's okay. Even though we'll probably do one on Monday because, we have to do a Ecclesiastes this week too. Unless we just lament the whole way through. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. It's a tough morning. I'm feeling it. I'm definitely feeling it. 13 hours sitting in this chair babysitting a computer is... I'm definitely feeling it. I had zero fun. I had zero time to do anything. I'm feeling it. Alright. Lamentations, chapter 2. How hath the Lord covered... Oh wait, hold on one second. Sorry. I'm very sorry. I get into this, and so my OBS is doing that thing again where it's freezing, so I'm hoping that it doesn't I'm hoping that it doesn't do anything stupid. This probably means there's another update for the laptop that I don't know about. It's usually how it is. It seems like every time I look over and there's like something going on with the recording, it's because I just have an update that I don't know about. So I'll keep an eye on that. Hopefully nothing freezes, nothing goes crazy. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and read it. There's a Pilcrow at 20, and I'm thinking maybe we ought to put a pause after 10 too, just to break it up a little bit. I'm going to read till verse 10. Let's do that. I'm going to read till verse 10, and then we're going to cover that because it's a page break. It's a page break, and it'll be a nice place to stop, so I'm not reading like 20 verses before I have to stop. Alright, we're going to try this again. Lamentations chapter 2. Hopefully the computer is doing what it should be doing. It is sad how much trust we put into computers. It's just absolutely sad. Anyways, let's do this again. Lamentations chapter 2. How hath the Lord covered the daughter of Zion with a cloud in his anger, and cast down from heaven unto the earth the beauty of Israel, and remembered not his footstool in the day of his anger. The Lord hath swallowed up all the habitations of Jacob, and hath not pitied. He hath thrown down in his wrath the strongholds of the daughter of Judah. He hath brought them down to the ground. He hath polluted the kingdom and the princes thereof. He hath cut off in his fierce anger all the horn of Israel. He hath drawn back his right hand from before the enemy, and he burned against Jacob like a flaming fire, which devoureth around about. He hath bent his bow like an enemy. Let's try this one again. He hath bent his bow like an enemy. He stood with his right hand as an adversary, and slew all that were pleasant to the eye in the tabernacle of the daughter of Zion. He poured out his fury like fire. The Lord was as an enemy. He hath swallowed up Israel. He hath swallowed up all her palaces. He hath destroyed his strongholds, and hath increased in the daughter of Judah mourning and lamentation. And he hath violently taken away his tabernacle, as if it were of a garden. He hath destroyed his places of the assembly. The Lord hath caused the solemn feasts and Sabbaths to be forgotten in Zion, and hath despised in the indignation of his anger the king and the priest. The Lord hath cast off his altar. He hath abhorred his sanctuary. He hath given up into the hand of the enemy the walls of her palaces. They have made a noise in the house of the Lord, as in the day of a solemn feast. The Lord hath purposed to destroy the wall of the daughter of Zion. He hath stretched out a line. He hath not withdrawn his hand from destroying. Therefore he made the rampart and the wall to lament. They languish together. Her gates are sunk into the ground. He hath destroyed and broken her bars. Her king and her princes are among the Gentiles. The law is no more. Her prophets also find no vision from the Lord. The elders of the daughter of Zion sit upon the ground and keep silence. They have cast up dust upon their heads. They have girded themselves with sackcloth. The virgins of Jerusalem hang down their heads to the ground. Alright, like I said, I'm going to stop there, and then we'll pick it up after we go through this. So starting back up at the top, there's a lot of self-explanatory stuff. We may get out of this one quick. It doesn't matter if we get out of it quick or not. I am still going to be sitting here watching the remainder of what I had to do yesterday transfer into another folder because it was just so much. It was a lot. I got slammed for Monday. Every Monday I have to do a certain job, and I just got crushed, and I even told my supervisor, I said, we're not doing this again. I said, next time this happens, we are going to cut this in half. You're going to take a little bit, and I'm going to take a little bit, because I can't handle having 18,000 files that I have to process in one day. It's too much. Again, that's neither here nor there, and nobody really cares about that. It just, it's like I said, I was on the computer for 13 hours yesterday trying to get this done, and I'm still transferring files this morning. So much. Anyway, starting back up at the top. How hath the Lord covered the daughter of Zion with a cloud in his anger, and cast down from heaven unto the earth the beauty of Israel, and remembered not his footstool in the day of his anger. So again, they talk about God's people as if it were a daughter, or if it were his bride, if it were a widow. Several different ways that they say it, but they show his people as a woman so that you would have more understanding about it. It's not an allegory. What is it? It's a metaphor, something like that. I don't know. I'm not thinking right today, so I can't tell you anyways. But remember, it's all about his bride that he chose went off and whored herself out with other gods. And because of that, he said he had to destroy all these places. He told them over and over again, I am going to bring these people up against you. Before, he could have very easily said, I'm going to bring all these people up against you, but you have my protection. You will be able to stand against this. This will not hurt you or destroy you. Now he's saying, I'm going to bring these people against you, and you will be weak. You will not have my protection. You will not be able to stand up to it. It will walk right over you. Because you chose to go against me, to do all those things. It's not that hard to walk in a path of righteousness. It's really not. I thought it was for a long time too. But God has seen it before. He knows that evil, and I say it all the time, he knows that if you let evil sit and reign in a place, it will continue to grow and get worse and worse until it is stopped. He's seen it before. I think I talked about it a little bit yesterday, about the stories we have heard about Sodom and Gomorrah, the stories we have heard about the days of Noah, about how bad it had gotten, that he said, I have to put a stop to this. There's no way. I mean, even though, we talked about Jeremiah, about the things that they were doing, passing their children over the fire, about, doing all these different things. In Ezekiel, we're going to be hearing about, no matter how bad it is on the surface, it's going to be twice as bad behind the scenes, behind the walls. It never mentions how bad it could get. But God knows. God's seen it over and over and over again. So he said, this time, we're going to put a stop to it. We're going to put a stop to it early. I'm not going to kill all my people. Not like I did before. I'm not going to completely punish them by killing everybody and only saving so many people. No. I'm going to save who I can that will listen to me. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to send these armies against you. If you get taken captive, if you don't run and take your punishment, then I will take it easy on you. Any father, any mother knows that situation. It is easier for you to tell me the truth and take your punishment than it would be for you to lie to me and double the punishment. That's discipline 101. 101, that's number of brainwashing, but there you go. It's a phrase. Until we can break ourselves out of the phrases that this world has, that's all I got. But that's discipline. Pure and simple. Some people don't understand how that works anymore. When I was growing up, it was easier for me just to go up and admit what I did was wrong than to try to lie myself out of it, get caught, and then take a double punishment. That's how I learned how to just tell the truth. And usually 9 times out of 10, the parents already know anyways. The parents just want the kid to fess up. That's all it is. But that's how you create children that don't lie just for the sake of lying. Of course, nowadays, everybody wants to lie to kids about everything. And nobody seems to think that it's wrong to do. It's like, no, a lie is still, even when I was growing up, it was always white lies. My mom always taught me about white lies. It's okay to tell just a little white lie sometimes. No, it's not. A lie is still a lie. Stop doing that to your kids. It just blows my mind. The things that, it's the small little things that just build up and build up and build up, and they get bigger and bigger and bigger. Evil snowballs consistently and constantly unless it's stopped. I will say that over and over. I will probably say that. I've probably said that every single video because it's true. If you let it go, it keeps building. Just one more thing. Just one more thing. You want to put it another way, it's just another brick in the wall. Pink Floyd had it right. Just another brick in the wall. Just another step down that dark path. Just another thing. We have to be better than this. We have to do better than this. We have to turn away from the evils that are all about us. We have to see it. We have to point it out. We have to show others. We have to put a stop to it. But again, there are so many people that won't hear that because they are so... that's the word I'm looking for. I want to say enraptured. So taken over by this need to live in that darkness. We have to be better than that. If we don't, God will send his punishment eventually. And all we will have left is the Lamentations of Jeremiah, where he constantly says, "How have you fallen? How hath the Lord covered the daughter of Zion with a cloud in his anger, cast down the heaven unto the earth, from heaven unto the earth the beauty of Israel." Cast down the beauty of Israel, and remembered not his footstool in the day of his anger. What's his footstool? Earth is his footstool. Flat, stationary, non-moving earth held up by 4 pillars. Footstool of the Lord, pressed out as a stamp, which may or may not have been the moon. I don't know. It's, I still look at those moon maps and I'm like, I'm up and down. I'm 50-50 on it. There's some of it that I'm like, well, but then there's other parts where I'm like, well, I don't know. I don't know. That's a completely different conversation for a completely different time. I've said that before, though. Not the way they said it, but I've said that before. Is that if the Bible says that the earth was pressed as if it were a seal, and I think that was one of the Psalms. I don't remember. It might have been Job too. I don't know. If it says that it was pressed like a seal, I said, well, what about the moon? I mean, even if you don't take the big, huge moon map the way that they say it is, even the indentions on the moon kind of match up to the flat Earth map a little bit. The only thing it's missing, I think, is like Australia, but it kind of matches up just on the surface, just on its level, But they think that it's bigger than that, and that it's the flat map is like just a tiny part of the moon, and it's like the whole thing, and I don't know. It's neither here nor there. It's good stuff to talk about because it's interesting. Because there are places on the moon when they reverse the image and they pull certain things up. There are places that absolutely match 100% what we see on Earth. On the flat maps of the Earth, that completely matches up, and you're like, wow, that's something different there. But then there's other places that don't, and it just kind of completely destroys the whole thing. And it's just like, but there's something to that one spot where it matches up so well that, how does that work? It's a weird thing. I'm not gonna lie, it's a weird thing. Anyway, let's keep going though. Verse 2, the Lord hath swallowed up all the habitations of Jacob, and hath not pitied. He hath thrown down in his wrath the strongholds of the daughters of Judah. He hath brought them down to the ground. He hath polluted the kingdom and the princes thereof. Yet again, he told them it was coming. And now that it's happened, all Jeremiah could do is just sit there and just look what happened. Look, this is what he said was coming, and then it came, and then you wonder why everybody's having so many problems. He hath cut off in his fierce anger all the horn of Israel. He hath drawn back his right hand from before the enemy. He burned against Jacob, and he burned against Jacob like a flaming fire, which devoureth round abouts. He hath drawn back his right hand from the enemy. His protective hand, his protection. Some people could say that's other things, and that's fine. What I hear though is, again, it's that protection. He lifts that protection. He has promised us that he will protect us as long as we listen to him and follow him and just try to do better. And he will give us protection, take care of us. But it is because he lifts that protection that all these terrible things come to us. Why would God allow this? Why would God allow that? Well, it's because you wouldn't listen to him in the first place. Because he told you, if you don't want to listen to me, then I will just let these things happen. I will show you that there is nothing good that man can create. And all these man-made nightmares that we have in the world that are slowly poisoning us, manipulating us, and destroying us. And you want to ask why God lets this happen? It's because you wouldn't listen to him in the first place. He said, if this is what you want, this is what you get. That's the plain and simple fact of it. You don't get to complain and bitch and moan to God if you never wanted to listen to him in the first place. Everybody always wants to ask God for something, but they never want to ask the question, what can I do for you, God? Verse 4, he hath bent his bow like an enemy. He hath bent his bow like an enemy. He stood with his right hand as an adversary, and slew all that were pleasant to the eye in the tabernacle of the daughter of Zion. He poured out his fury like fire, which at the end he will pour out his fury as fire. The Lord was an enemy. The Lord was as an enemy. He hath swallowed up Israel. He hath swallowed up all her places. He hath destroyed his strongholds, and hath increased in the daughter of Judah mourning, M-O-U-R, mourning, and lamentation. And he hath violently taken away his tabernacle, as if it were of a garden. He hath destroyed his places of the assembly. The Lord hath caused the solemn feasts and Sabbaths to be forgotten in Zion. Those very good, amazing things that happened throughout the year, he took them away. Those times of rest, those times of joy, those times of being together. We actually went to it was a Feast of Tabernacles. I cannot remember what the name of the people were, but they were way pro-Israel. But they were Messianic. There you go. Messianic Jews. And while I didn't agree with a lot of stuff that some of them said, it was good to be there. It was good to be there for the sake of taking that break, of, you know, having that day of rest that you knew was good. It was good just to be surrounded by people, to be able to talk to people, to be able to, you know, have more understanding of certain things. And of course, there were others that, you know, they were talking out of one ear or talking out of one side of their mouths, and just things that I heard that I, you know, we didn't go back. We didn't go back a second year, but it was for what we did. It was me and my wife, and we actually had the granddaughter that day too. We took her out. It was good. It felt good. It felt right. It felt like a good thing. We probably shouldn't have been there. Like I said, it was. I could put a modicum of faith into the idea that we were probably in the right place, but it's like I said, they put a lot of stock into the nation of Israel, and there were some times where I almost opened my mouth and I, you know, wanted to ask, so is it, you know, the synagogue of Satan we're talking about here, or are we talking about, you know, the true people of Israel? I don't know, but yeah, there were some other things, but it felt good. Yeah, it felt right. It was something I think we were probably there for. And somebody could probably say, well, if it felt right, you know, you should have just. No, I get it. I get that. I get that as well. But that was for him to take away the feasts and the Sabbaths, to make them forgotten. That is something that a lot of people don't seem to understand. Whenever you want to say, yeah, I want to keep the Sabbath, they're like, well, that's the law. You don't want to practice the law. I said, it's a commandment. It's what he told us to do, is to remember them, to keep them. I may not be the perfect person in the world to keep them, but, if he tells us to do something, maybe we ought to do it. Maybe we ought to think about doing it. And I've already said, too, that there's something else to the Sabbaths other than just not working all day. There's something else more to it. Not only is it to keep it holy, not only is it to give him worship, there's something more to it. I will find it eventually. Now, as far as the feasts are concerned, feasts are amazing. When you have the we got Passover coming up, man. This year, we won't be able to celebrate until we get home. This year, we're actually going to be on the road, which is, I'm going to have to ask forgiveness for the Father that he lets us move it back for a week, because we're going to be out on the road. And there's just no way in the world that I can see, especially the way that it is. And that's fine. We can do that the week after. How can we do that the week after? It even says in your Bible that there were some guys that had to what was it? They had to deal with a dead body or something. And when you deal with the dead body, the law said that you had to be put away for a week or something. I don't remember exactly what it was. You were unclean. You were considered unclean, and you had to be put away for a week, 7 days or something like that. And the Passover's coming up, so I think they came to Aaron or Moses. I think it was Aaron. I can't remember exactly what it was. And they said, we just got done, doing this. How are we supposed to be able to celebrate? I might be getting this wrong. This might be the second time around, after the second temple. Maybe. I don't remember. Because this might have been that. I don't really remember. I'd have to go back through and look. But they went to whoever it was and they said, we have this. What are we supposed to do? We can't be there because of this. And whoever it was they talked to went and prayed, and God told them, tell them to come back in a week or in a month or whatever it was. Tell them to come back the next week or whatever. Then they can celebrate. Because they couldn't do it. Now, some people can use that as an excuse to make a Sabbath whenever you want. Believe me, I've thought about it too. I have to do this thing on Saturday. Father, will you forgive me until tomorrow? And it's entirely possible, I think. I don't want to move days around. I think that it's more about making sure you have that break, that holy day where you can stop and worship the Father. And as far as the feasts are concerned, you want to do them when He tells you to. But if you can't, then you ask for forgiveness and ask that He moves it for you so that the next week you can go ahead and do whatever it is. So that's what we're doing. Yeah, somebody could look at that and say, well, that's not right. That's not right according to the Bible. You better... I think all things are possible. Absolutely all things are possible. No matter what, though, I think that as long as we are not following pagan holidays, pagan traditions, the way of the heathen, remember, follow not the way of the heathen, do not the things of the heathens. As long as you're not doing that kind of stuff, I think the Father will find forgiveness for you to be able to help you. It's what this is supposed to be about. He just wants us to listen to what he wants. Because there's something more to following his feasts, to have those Sabbaths, to have those days of rest, to have those times where you can do the things for him. It's not that hard either. It's one day out of the week. You work 40 hours a week. Burn your ass off 40 hours a week every week for a job that lets you buy stuff that you don't need. You can't give 24 hours to God, the one who gives you all of that, the one who has allowed you to have all of that. I'm not a perfect saint when it comes to that. I've already said that before, but I understand it. I get it. I absolutely understand and get why he made such a fuss about it. He made such a fuss about it that he put it in the commandments. Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. Oh, but nobody ever mentioned it whenever Christ came around. He only talked about maybe 7 of the 10 commandments. When Christ came around, that's all they did was the Sabbaths. What, every time he went in and he preached in a temple, it was a Sabbath day. Every time he was going and doing something, it was a Sabbath day. I get it. I may not follow him 100%. I've told you that. And I have asked Father for forgiveness every single time I've had to do it. Those days, though, where I am able to stop and I am able to sit and just meditate, keep the day for myself, thank the Father that he gave me that day, those are the days. Those are the really, really nice days. There's something to them. I need to quit going on about this stuff and just keep talking. The Lord hath caused the solemn feasts and Sabbaths to be forgotten in Zion, and hath despised in the indignation of his anger the king and the priest. They also forgot the Sabbaths and the feasts because they were taken over. And whenever you were put to slavery, you don't get to have a day off. You're on 24/7, 365. He made a day for people to stop and rest every week. Because as a slave, you don't get that. Back during these times, when you had to worry about your sheep, or your flocks, you had to worry about your farms, you had to worry about your whatever. You were on the clock 24/7, 365. You had to constantly be on it. He gave you a day to rest, a day to take off, to worship him, to thank him. Sabbath was made for the man, not man for the Sabbath. Verse 7, the Lord hath cast off his altar, and hath abhorred his sanctuary. He hath given up into the hand of the enemy the walls of her palaces. They have made a noise in the house of the Lord, as in the day of a solemn feast. The Lord hath purposed to destroy the wall of the daughter of Zion. He hath stretched out a line. He hath not withdrawn his hand from destroying. Therefore he made the rampart and the wall to lament. They languished together. Her gates are sunk into the ground. He hath destroyed and broken her bars. Her king and her princes are among the Gentiles. Her king and her princes are among the Gentiles. The law is no more. Her prophets also find no vision from the Lord, because they are so separated from everything. The goodness that he gave them. The law was not a bad thing. The law was a good thing. I'm not going to say that if we don't follow the law 100%. No, the law was there to take away at least the law of Moses. Remember, I I think that there might be two different things going on there. The commandments from God are there to keep us from doing bad. The law of Moses, the law of man, was there to keep us from falling into evil. Because, a lot of them just wouldn't follow the commandments. They either wouldn't or they wouldn't want to. And what happens is eventually you start breaking the law. The first thing to start happening, of course, is that husbands and wives start getting promiscuous. A lot of the laws had to do with what happens if a woman, goes out and has sex with somebody else. What happens if, what happens if the husband dies? What happens if, the wife dies? What happens if somebody does a certain thing? What happens if somebody steals something? That's just the law. What happens if this? What happens if that? You remember, there's a difference between the law and commandments. If you don't do this, you will get punished by this. Commandments are simply God saying, do this. Keep this. Follow this. Watch this, That kind of stuff. But the law, on the other hand, was, if this happens, then you do this. Or if this happens, do this. There's a separation between the two. It's I've heard so many different ways about it. A lot of people will say, well, we don't need this, you don't need that, you don't need to do this. And I'm like, well, there's an understanding that there's both and not both. There's something more to it. I'm going to keep looking for myself. I want to try to figure it out for myself. That's why I've had guys that have come up to me and say, well, you don't follow this, you don't do that, you don't do this. And I'm like, yeah, because I don't know yet. Father hasn't shown that to me yet. When he's decided that he wants to show that to me and he wants me to find that, that's fine. Right now we're working on something else. The Most High and I right now are working on something else. And I'm going to tell that to other people too. I said, if you're working on something else, the last thing you need to be worried about is anything in the law. We're trying to get my soul straight. That's what we're trying to do. We're working on this. He's trying to give me some other kind of knowledge. He said, right now you don't even have to worry about it. Worry about something else. You can't. I was even thinking this the other day. Don't even worry about the splinter that's in your brother's eyes when you got the log that's in your own eye kind of thing. I got my own stuff I got to deal with, and I know there's other people that are doing the same thing, so I can't judge anybody on that. If you got your own deal, if you're keeping every one of the laws and you got all the thing going, and if you got all the Sabbaths and that's awesome for you. I'm not there yet. I got my own things to deal with. So don't think that I'm sitting here saying all this being a hypocrite. I know, but we're not there yet. We're not there yet. When it's my time, trust me, it'll happen. Where are we at? The law is no more, her prophets also found a vision. The elders, this is verse 10, the elders of the daughter of Zion sit upon the ground and keep silence. They have cast up dust upon their heads. They have girded themselves with sackcloth. The virgins of Jerusalem hang down their heads to the ground. Again, there is something about coming back to the Father, praying in this true way of wearing your worst, girding yourself in sackcloth, I had a sneeze. Wow. There's something about girding yourself in sackcloth, casting dust upon your head, having your hair shorn, shaved, whatever. It doesn't say that here, but there's other places. And I am sure that if they were taken captive, they were probably shaved. There's many other places where it says, such and such were taken and, they were made bald. They were shaved down. So a lot of people will say that is for health reasons. Lice has been a thing for years. I'm sorry, it's just always been there. But also, there is a spiritual aspect to it. Your Bible even says there's something to it. Your Bible would not have gone out of its way to tell you the story of Samson, about how his hair had to do with his strength. Does hair have to do with strength? Dude, my hair is really long. My hair is longer than it's ever been. Even whenever I was in middle school. My hair was down to my back. Right now, my hair is down to my back. 3 years of hair growth is crazy. I stopped shaving and stopped worrying about my hair when they sent me to work from home 3 years ago. So this is 3 years of growth, and it's already down longer than it's ever been. I don't have anything on top anymore because I'm balding. What do you want? But I'm rocking that skullet. It is what it is. But does that equal strength? No. I'm not any stronger than I am. Am I more spiritual than I have been? I don't know. Maybe not. But I still think there's a spiritual aspect to it. I can tell you this much. I'm more into this book now and more into understanding of what it is than I was 3 years ago. I'm not saying it's because of my hair. Then again, I don't know. I've always had a problem with shaving. I've always had a problem with haircuts. I've always had a problem with looking good for the sake of looking good. My whole thing has been, if humans are supposed to grow hair in these places, there's a reason for it. There's a reason you grow hair in your armpits, on your legs. There's a reason you grow hair on your face. There's a reason you grow hair on your head. There's reasons for these things. Why would we want to take that away? There's a lot of people who will say, oh, but hairy legs on a woman is disgusting and dirty and all this. And having a man with a nice shaved face that looks good and all that. Yeah, but it's supposed to be there. That hair's supposed to be there. It's a protection of some kind. You shave yourself like that and, one thing I think is hilarious is that a woman will go out, and this has happened before to me with, either an ex-girlfriend or just people that I know. They will go out of their way to get themselves all gussied up to go out somewhere. Shave their legs, do the whole thing, make themselves all up pretty. One cold wind comes through, and it's just, oh, it's so cold. Oh, I can't do this. I can't do that. And, you're just like, well, I'm not that cold, but here, you can have my jacket. She's like, you don't know what it's like to be a woman and have to have all this and stuff. And I'm like, you did it to yourself. Don't complain when you were the one that got rid of all that protection upon your legs. It doesn't matter to me, really. Actually, the worst part about it is that, if you start them early, if you start shaving them early, it just grows back worse, and it just keeps growing back worse. You think that it's all those guys that will look at the girls in like Italy or something, and they'll be like, the big hairy nasty, it's like, well, if they hadn't started shaving early in the first place, it wouldn't be that bad. There's something more to it, and there's a little fallen angel aspect to it. The fallen angels came down and they told men and women how to use makeup and how to, shave the certain bits and look pretty and all that stuff. So if it's there for a reason, it's there for a reason. I am not advocating for, gigantic balls of hair to come out of a woman's armpits. I'm just saying that we are taught different levels of beauty than what the human body is supposed to be. There's a lot of people that I can just, if I were to tell that to some of my friends, I could hear them saying, "But you're out of your mind. What are you talking about?" I could hear it now. Hell, man, if you would have told me that 10 years ago, I would have probably said the same thing. You're nuts. You're out of your mind. There's something more to it. I'm just saying. It's just file that under things that this world has taught us that may or may not be completely true and may be a lie. Just throwing that out there. Because again, we know nothing. We know nothing about how we're really supposed to live in this world. We really, truly don't. Verse 11. Mine eyes do fail with tears. My bowels are troubled. My liver is poured upon the earth for the destruction of the daughter of my people, because the children and the sucklings swoon in the streets of the city. They say to their mothers, "Where is corn and wine?" When they swooned as the wounded in the streets of the city, when their soul was poured out into their mother's bosom. What thing shall I take to witness for thee? What thing shall I liken to thee, O daughter of Jerusalem? What shall I equal to thee, that I may comfort thee, O virgin daughter of Zion? For thy breach is great like the sea. Who can heal thee? Thy prophets have seen vain and foolish things for thee, and they have not discovered thine iniquity, to turn away thy captivity, but have seen for thee false burdens and causes of banishment. All that pass by clap their hands at thee. They hiss and wag their head at the daughter of Jerusalem, saying, Is this city that men call the perfection of beauty, the joy of the whole earth? All thine enemies have opened their mouth against thee. They hiss and gnash the teeth. They say, We have swallowed her up. Certainly, this is the day that we looked for. We have found, we have seen it. The Lord hath done that which he hath devised. He hath fulfilled his word, that he had commanded in the days of old. He hath thrown down, and hath not pitied. He hath caused thine enemy to rejoice over thee. He hath set up the horn of thine adversaries. Their heart cried unto the Lord, O wall of the daughter of Zion. Let tears run down like a river day and night. Let tears run down like a river day and night. Sorry. Give thyself no rest. Let not the apple of thine eye cease. Arise, cry out in the night. In the beginning of the watches, pour out thine heart like water before the face of the Lord. Lift up thy hands toward him for the life of thy young children, that faint for hunger in the top of every street. Those last lines, the life of thy young children that faint for hunger in the top of every street. I'm getting like some like visions of like orphan trains and mud floods on that one. You guys take that as you will. Back up to verse 11. Mine eyes do fail with tears. My bowels are troubled. My liver is poured upon the earth. for the destruction of the daughter of my people, because the children and the sucklings swoon in the streets of the city. Again, you talk about orphan trains, you talk about Cabbage Patch Kids, and I'm not just talking about the toys. It's weird, though, that the toys were a thing. Cabbage Patch Kids. There was a meme back in the 1800s that kids were grown in cabbage patches. I am not kidding. They were grown in cabbage patches. They were given to storks, and storks would fly them to houses and drop them off. That's where that tale of the stork flying babies to houses comes from. Now, whether or not that is just a child's tale, there were a lot of people that would believe these things, so much so that, these were full-grown adults that were being told these tales of kids that were grown in cabbage patches and flown away on storks. Like full-grown adults don't know where babies come from, that they need to have these stories of Cabbage Patch Kids. It was weird. It was really, really weird. When you go back and look at that stuff, and it's really easy to find too. That stuff's still, that's base Google knowledge. Cabbage Patch Kids, 1800s. It was late 1800s, early 1900s. Weird stuff. Just weird stuff. I don't understand how that came to be, and I don't understand why it was such a meme the way it was, but orphan trains were a thing. There was this great boom of just orphan children. Where did these kids go? Or, where did the parents go? Where did these kids come from? All the parents just disappeared. It's like everybody just disappeared. And then just suddenly it's like all these kids out of nowhere. It's like, what is this? Weird stuff. And you're talking about the 1800s. It was right around the time of the Wild West. Right around the time of the Industrial Revolution. We have stories of kids, of orphans that were put to work in the factories. That they had no parents. It's weird that the Cabbage Patch Kids and the orphan kids, those that were on the orphan trains, those were the adults that lived through the Great Depression. What's that all about? Think about that for a second. All the people that died off in the Great Depression, that had to live through the Great Depression, that had to go to war in World War One. Those were all Cabbage Patch Kids. Those were all orphans on the orphan trains. What is going on there? This is why I say we know nothing. They can tell us one bit of history, but it doesn't sound right. It doesn't jibe at all. There's something else going on. Anyways, I hear that. And the sucklings swoon in the streets, and what was the other one? That faint for hunger at the top of every street. That may not have anything to do with anything. I'm just saying, you hear that and you're just like, that sounds familiar. That sounds really familiar. That's stuff to look for. Just go out and try to find some guys that are talking about that kind of stuff. It's weird. It's really weird. Verse 12, they say to their mothers, where is corn and wine? When they swooned as the wounded in the streets of the city. There it is again. Those are the kids. When their soul was poured out into their mother's bosom. What thing shall I take to witness for thee? What thing shall I liken to thee, O daughter of Jerusalem? What shall I equal to thee, that I may comfort thee, O virgin daughter of Zion? For thy breach is great like the sea. Who can heal thee? Thy prophets have seen vain and foolish things for thee, and they have not discovered thine iniquity, to turn away thy captivity, but have seen for thee false burdens and causes of banishment. The prophets have seen vain and foolish things for thee. and they have not discovered thine iniquity to turn away thy captivity. They have prophesied that you will be good, that things will happen for you that will be just fine, but they have not discovered, they have not shown you just how bad you really were. And because of that, they are not prophesying true words, but have seen for thee false burdens and causes of banishment. You're getting destroyed because the king of Babylon decided to do it, because your armies were too weak, because because your men weren't strong enough, because you didn't, you weren't, there wasn't enough equality. I don't know. There weren't enough women in the army. False burdens and causes of banishment. The truth was, you got destroyed because of your own iniquity, because God said, and you're taking your punishment now. 15. All that pass by clap their hands at thee. They hiss and wag their head at the daughter of Jerusalem, saying, is this the city that men call the perfection of beauty, the joy of the whole earth? Which is exactly what God told Jeremiah that what was going to happen. As he said that there will be people that will pass by, and they will see the city, and they will hiss, and they will laugh, and they will shake their heads, and they will say, what has happened to this place? Look at this place. Man. All thine enemies have opened their mouth against thee. They hiss and gnash the teeth. They say, we have swallowed her up. Certainly, this is the day that we looked for. We have found it. We have seen it. Why have all their enemies? Because God removed his hand of protection. God said, I'm going to bring these people on you. With my protection, they will not harm you. Without my protection, they're going to steamroll right over you. I am lifting my protection because you didn't listen. 17. The Lord hath done that which he had devised. He hath fulfilled his word, that he had commanded in the days of old. He hath thrown down, and hath not pitied. And he hath caused thine enemy to rejoice over thee. He hath set up the horn of thine adversaries. Their heart cried unto the Lord, a wall of the daughter of Zion. Let tears run down like a river day and night. Give thyself no rest. Let not the apple of thine eye cease. I have to know. I haven't looked in a while. I don't look as much as I used to. The apple of thine eye. That is not apple. What is that word? That is daughter. Apple of thine eye. You people need to understand. They use certain words. But that's not what that is. It is daughter. Designation of a woman of a particular place. Young women as personification, daughter. Let not the daughter of thine eye, which is eye of a physical eye, of showing of mental qualities. Let not the daughter that you see that has been there cease. Because I read that. The first time I read that, I said, apple. Really? King James is throwing in lines that we all seem to know. The apple of my eye. But no, that's daughter. Arise, cry out in the night. In the beginning of the watches, pour out thine heart like water before the face of the Lord. Lift up thy hands toward him, for the life of thy young children, that faint for hunger in the top of every street. Now, just to go back to the apple of my eye kind of thing, that's what people used to call a woman, a daughter. She's the apple of my eye. She's the thing that I hold on to the most. She is the beauty and the wonder and, the magnificence of whatever it is. My wife is the apple of my eye. My daughter, my kids are the apple of my eye. That is where that probably comes from. Again, so many people go out of their way to say that, I'm not religious. I don't do this. I don't do that. And yet every phrase you use, everything you say, every whatever you have leads back somewhere. And 9 times out of 10, it leads back to the Bible. If they really want to say that they're going to cut out the things that they do that are not biblical, that are not of God, that are not whatever, start with that stuff. Everything you do comes from somewhere. Oh, but life couldn't exist without God. Life could exist without the Bible. Could it really? Could it? Again, there are phrases in the book that have been there for years that you use. You don't even know what they are. When you translate the words that they use, and then understand that these things have been there for all this time, and they mean the same things, and your Bible says it, it's got to mean something. Whether it was written by Freemasons or not, that's got to mean something. It's got to mean something. So, verse 20, Behold, O Lord, and consider to whom thou hast done this. Shall the women eat their fruit, and children of a span long? Shall the priest and the prophet be slain in the sanctuary of the Lord? The young and the old lie on the ground in the streets. My virgins and my young men are fallen by the sword. Thou hast slain them in the day of thine anger. Thou hast killed and not pitied. Thou hast called, as in a solemn day, my terrors round about, so that in the day of the Lord's anger none escaped, nor remained. Those that I have swaddled and brought up hath mine enemy consumed. Boy, can you take that one literally? Maybe. Let's go back to 20. Behold, O Lord, and consider to whom thou hast done this. Shall the women eat their fruit, and children of a span long? Shall the women eat, and the children go hungry? Shall the priest and the prophet be slain in the sanctuary of the Lord? The young and the old lie on the ground in the streets. My virgins and my young men are fallen by the sword. Thou hast slain them in the day of thine anger. Thou hast killed and not pitied. Oh, but it's such a cruel and evil God that he would do these things. He would let these things happen. If it is to prevent evil, true evil, it is not cruel. He was cleaning up a mess that this world brought. Oh, but why would he go and kill the children? He killed the children. He killed his own people. His own people he left dying in the streets. Those were not his people anymore. They chose other gods. They chose not to listen. I went through the entirety of Jeremiah and Isaiah, where it said over and over again, they chose not to listen. They chose to do this. They chose to take pride and pleasure in going against him. They chose to take pride and pleasure in the evils of this world, the darkness of this world. Now, we can see from our vantage point right now All you have to do is look around and see what pride has gotten you. What pride in evil and pride in darkness has gotten you. That is why. Because he wanted to prevent, God, the Most High, wanted to prevent what is happening now from happening to his most sacred people. Because he knows how bad it could get. Sodom and Gomorrah levels. Extra biblical Sodom and Gomorrah levels are raping people in the streets, doing all kinds of darkness. Biblical levels of Sodom and Gomorrah are men, women, and children of the city, all trying their damnedest to get inside of a house because of two angels, even after they were blinded, wearying themselves trying to get two angels to have their way with them, to know them. That's Sodom and Gomorrah levels. Lot's kids didn't even blink when they said, hey, we need to repopulate the world. Let's have sex with our dad. They didn't even blink. They said, let's get him drunk. Let's get him drunk so we can have sex with him so that we can have kids. Because everybody's dead. We have to repopulate the world. And no, God didn't allow it. He cursed those people. It's amazing when people say, well, see, look, God allows incest in the Bible. No, he doesn't. He cursed those people. You know what happened to the Ammonites? Ammonites, the grandchildren of Lot. He tore them down. The same time he tore down Jerusalem. Oh no, God's actually keeping his promises. That's amazing. Not only at the same time was he killing and destroying his own people for not listening to him, which everybody says, look how cruel and unjust he is. He was going after the Ammonites, who were all inbred. They were inbred. All of them. It was the inbred relations of Sodom, or not Sodom, inbred relations of Lot and his daughters. And God said they will be cursed. They will be punished. He killed them both at the same time. He did it on purpose. So that people that want to say, oh, he's such a cruel and unjust God, and look, he allows sodomy, or not sodomy, he allows incest. Well, they'd probably say that too, knowing them. He allows incest. He allows these things to happen. Actually, they do, as a matter of fact. They say, well, he allowed, some gay centurion to have his man boy lover, or whatever it was, be healed. That's not what pious means. That's a whole nother discussion for a whole nother time. But the word for the boy when the guardian came to Christ, the word that they use it's not pious, it's pious. I want to say Pius, but it just meant boy servant. It didn't mean homosexual boy servant. It just meant boy servant. It's like a knight in the Middle Ages taking a squire. It's like an apprentice. There you go. It's the best way to describe it. It's like an apprentice. But there are some people in this world that want to say, well, that word now means gay. That word now means homosexual. And it's like, well, you know what? The word gay didn't even mean homosexual until, 40 years ago? So no, you don't get to do that. If you really wanted to know the meaning of that word, you'd go look up Strong's Concordance, which is exactly what the people used when they were translating this book. You can look it up and find it out for yourself. Hell, the word unicorn doesn't even mean what it meant 100 years ago. So you shut up. You have no idea what you're talking about. Anyways, anyways, he chose to destroy his own people, destroy his own city, as a punishment at the same time that he said he was destroying the Ammonites, the people that came from the incestuous relationship of Lot and his daughters. Boom, there it is. Done. If you don't know what the book says, you can make up any story you want. I mean, if you pick and choose certain passages, you can make up anything you want. And you can twist and you can turn this book every which way. But if you don't read it in context and understand what's going on, you'll never know. It's amazing when you really read it and let it sink in and really understand it. And again, I'm not the best teacher. Don't come to me looking for, the perfect answers, because I don't have the perfect answers. I am still on this journey. I'm on a journey just like everybody else. But the young and old of the streets, 22, thou hast called as in a solemn day my terrors round about, so that in the day of the Lord's anger none escaped nor remained. Those that I have swaddled and brought up hath mine enemy consumed. I could say a lot of things about cannibalism, but I don't think I'm going to do that. Because that conversation leads to some dark places. Those that I have swaddled and brought up hath mine enemy consumed. Am I saying that the Babylonians were cannibals? I don't know. Maybe. At this point, I wouldn't doubt it. Oh, for crying out loud. At this point, I wouldn't doubt it. Oh, if the king's meat is pig that Daniel wouldn't eat, then that's one thing that not a lot of people talk about. It takes a lot to feed an army. One of the reasons that nations go into famine is because they have to feed an army, and they have to feed a city that is going into starvation because they can't grow their crops because they're warring. Especially back in the day, is that everybody had to come inside of the gates and they couldn't be outside where the farmland was. So they had to, there had to be some choices to be made. And of course, not everybody stocks up for war. But one of the things that I've thought before, and it's probably true, that not a lot of people talk about, when you have the very terrible, and I'm not talking about modern wars. Modern wars, we've made many advances in being able to feed soldiers, not just the past 40 years, but the past 100 years or so. I'm talking about ancient wars. The one thing that I don't think that they talk about is these wars, these sieges on these ancient places that lasted for years and years and years. If there was nobody there to keep feeding these armies, what were these armies eating? What was the one thing in abundance that you have during a war? Now, I'm not saying that's what happened, but man, If you have a truly evil nation coming up against a good nation that's starting to starve, and the evil nation is, they're prosperous and they're able to continue existing, what do you think they're eating? What's the number one thing in abundance during a war? So anyways, whenever it says, those that I have swaddled and brought up hath mine enemy consumed, I'm going to just throw that out there. This world is dark and evil. And it's dark and sinister and evil. And it's, no matter how bad it is on the surface, what you don't know, what they don't tell you, is 5 times worse. I can guarantee that. So yes, I absolutely believe that the number one food source for conquering nations, conquering armies, whatever it was during these 5-year, 10-year, 20-year wars that supposedly happened back in the day, was people. Soylent Green is people. Just throwing that out there. This world is a nightmare. This world is an absolute nightmare. Alright, I'm going to go. God bless you all. Take care of yourselves. I am just not having a good morning. And I don't even know why. I just don't. I woke up like this. I woke up feeling like garbage and just feeling low and down, and I don't want to feel this way. I really don't. So I asked the Father to lift me up today. I hope he lifts you guys up too. And I hope that we all have a good day, get through this, all right? So you guys take care of yourselves. I shall talk to you later.